Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's dive right in. Here are the top stories for February 2nd, 2026.
So, we're going to kick things off with some major geopolitical developments, starting in the Middle East, where things are getting pretty tense between Iran and the United States. And yeah, this quote really says it all. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has issued that very stark warning. These are some of the most direct threats we've seen yet, and it's got a lot of people worried that any kind of military clash could just explode into a much bigger conflict across the whole region.
Meanwhile, over in Ukraine, it feels like we're seeing two completely different stories playing out at the same time. On one hand, you've got diplomats, US and Russian envoys, holding what they're calling productive peace talks. But on the other hand, back on the ground, the violence just doesn't stop. A Russian drone strike in Dnipro killed at least 12 mine workers. It's just a brutal, tragic reminder of the daily human cost of this war.
Now, this is a story with truly global implications. The head of the UN, Secretary General Antonio Guterres, is warning that the organization is basically on the brink of going broke. And why? Well, it comes down to member countries just not paying their dues. The United States was actually called out for being significantly behind, and this puts all kinds of vital humanitarian and peacekeeping missions all over the world in serious jeopardy.
145. Just let that number sink in. That is the devastating number of people reported killed after a series of coordinated militant attacks in Pakistan's Balochistan province.
And let's turn to Africa, where we're seeing a major power shift. The military leader in Madagascar has now made it official. He's come out and said he is taking the position of president, which really cements that recent coup.
Okay, let's shift gears and head over to the United States, where there's a whole lot going on, from Washington, D.C. all the way down to Texas. So this is a story that is absolutely blowing up right now. Newly unsealed court documents tied to the Jeffrey Epstein case are sending, shockwaves everywhere. And the files mention a whole roster of powerful men, including, get this, the current president of France, Emmanuel Macron, along with Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Britain's former Prince Andrew. Meanwhile, in Washington, that partial government shutdown is just dragging on. And if you're wondering when it's going to end, well, don't hold your breath. House Speaker Mike Johnson has said there won't be a quick vote, and he's pointing to ongoing fights with Democrats over funding for immigration enforcement. But away from all that gridlock, talk about a political earthquake in Texas. A Democrat, Taylor Rummett, has won a special election, flipping a state Senate district that has been reliably Republican for decades. This is a huge deal, and it's really fueling a lot of optimism for Democrats as they look ahead to the 2026 midterms. And on the immigration front, there's an update in a case that a lot of people have been following. A federal judge has ordered the release of 5-year-old Liam Conejo Ramos and his father. They had been held in an ICE detention facility, but the good news is they've now been released and are back home in Minnesota. Next up, we're going to look at some really tough stories from around the globe, where communities are really grappling with everything from tragic accidents to the growing impact of extreme weather.
41. Just a devastating update. The death toll from that horrific fire at a bar in the Swiss Alpine resort of Crans, Montana, has now tragically risen to 41.
I mean, listen to this quote. It sounds apocalyptic. That is not a word you hear lately, but it's how wildlife experts are describing what the severe flooding from Storm Chandra is doing in the UK. We're talking about floodwaters that are threatening entire populations of birds, butterflies, and even small mammals like dormice. And the numbers just keep climbing. 137. That's the latest death toll as a major winter storm continues its deadly sweep across North America. And from the very bottom of the planet, scientists are sounding a major alarm. A massive glacier, we're talking the size of a city, has collapsed in just 2 months. Think about that. A city-sized chunk of ice, just gone. It's a really stark signal that the effects of climate change might be happening way faster and more unpredictably than we thought. All right, let's shift the tone a bit now and turn to the world of culture and arts, where Hollywood is mourning a great loss and the music industry is celebrating its biggest night of the year. We have some really sad news to report. The world has lost a true comedic legend. Catherine O'Hara, the brilliant Emmy-winning star of Schitt's Creek and so many other amazing roles, has passed away at the age of 71. She was just one of a kind, a singular talent who brought so much laughter to millions. And on a happier note, it's Grammy night. The 2026 awards are underway, celebrating all the biggest names in music.
Kendrick Lamar is leading the pack with 9 nominations. Not far behind are Lady Gaga and Sabrina Carpenter. And we've already got some early winners, including FKA Twigs and the duo of Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande.
Okay, to wrap things up, let's do a quick rapid-fire roundup of some other major stories making news around the globe.
Here's a small but really significant piece of news out of war-torn Sudan. For the first time since the conflict started, a civilian flight has landed at the capital's international airport. It's just a small glimmer of normalcy in a very difficult situation.
Wow, history has been made in the world of tennis. The Spanish phenom Carlos Alcaraz beat Novak Djokovic to win the Australian Open. And with that win, he becomes the youngest man ever to complete a career Grand Slam. Just an incredible achievement.
And in business news, a big shock for the markets in India. The SENSEX stock index took a nosedive, plunging over 1,500 points during a very unusual Sunday budget session. Reports say it was a direct reaction to a government proposal to raise the securities transaction tax.
And that's the news for now. We'll be back with another update in 24 hours. In the meantime, please be sure to like this explainer and subscribe to the channel to stay informed. Thanks for watching.